strategic thinking with the clarity of the creative brain and the output from that, so you can actually think deeply about your client's challenges, but communicate it in a much more effective way than a consultancy can do.
I'm Rob Edmonds, founder and CEO of NRG Studios. Today we're going to explore something a little different. My very prestigious guest and friend works across multiple agency sectors. So today we're going to explore the ever-changing agency landscape and lift the lid on growth with purpose and understanding the practical things we can all do to strengthen our business for the future. And joining us to explore this topic is Dan Egerton, CEO of Actus Consulting. Dan and his team focus on strategic and practical advice needed to accelerate their clients' companies. Which is done via purpose-driven performance. The effect is motivating employees and demonstrating to customers and stakeholders that their actions contribute to a greater good. All of Dan's work comes from the underlying belief that incredible things happen when you focus on growth with purpose. Dan, welcome. So before we start, let's just talk about focus on growth, which you specialize in with purpose, and what the typical outcomes that you're seeing for agencies that you work with.
Yeah, great place to start. Hi, Rob. Lovely to have a chat with you. So when you talk about growth with purpose, you really got to understand the two parts to it. Okay, so first of all, what do you mean by growth? And is growth just 10% a year turnover? Is it turnover increase? Is it additional people in the business? Is it improved profitability? Or is it having a greater impact on both your team, society, your clients? And the reality is it's probably a mixture of all of those, which is why we talk about growth with purpose. It's not about just growth for the sake of it, but what it really comes down to is sustainable growth, where you're thinking about your stakeholders and more of a stakeholder governance model. And it's also very much about the impact that you can have on your community and how you can use your business as a force for good.
So it's looking at from an overview then, Dan, it's really about taking a step back. When you come into a business, you sort of take a real step back with the owners and look at a very holistic approach with obviously numbers and all the, typical things you would find, but actually looking at it from a kind of different viewpoint.
Yeah, it's really helping our clients recognize that growth just is one metric, that there's a lot of components to it and they have to be in balance with each other.
Fantastic. Okay, so before we start on the main topic, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received and how has it impacted your life? A small question to start with, Dan.
Yeah, just best piece. I've been very, very lucky through my career to have met and worked with amazing people, and I think the greatest piece of advice that I've ever had was from an incredible lady, Susie Wilson, who is a partner at PwC that I worked with at the very beginning of my career. It helped me realize that you've got to see the world from other people's perspective. Like, you might have a view of what's right and wrong, what you should do or shouldn't do, but that's just your view of the world. You've got to step out and try and put yourself in other people's shoes and see the challenges that they have. And that's a piece of advice that's kind of really I've built a business on. And if I can just have my second bit, which they kind of balance each other, is that the other piece of advice that I've always stays with me is some advice my dad gave me. His advice was always leave something on the table. Like, you don't need to win at all cost. Right? Leave something for somebody else, leave something for next time. And I think that combination of seeing the world from other people's perspectives and that acceptance and willingness to leave something on the table, one puts you in a much stronger position, allows you to live your life with purpose, and allows you to be proud of what you've achieved and look after the people around you.
I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Okay, so should we sort of move on to perhaps some of the main questions? Because I'm sure a lot of agency leaders out there will want to hear your insight into it. So, as we know, with many UK agencies, under pressure to, prove ROI amongst tighter client budgets. What advice would you give for agency owners to sharpen their value proposition to stay competitive in this incredibly challenging market we find ourselves in?
Yeah. And it is a tough market, and it's things that I'm dealing with on a day-to-day basis, that you feel that the levers that you have available to you are being removed one by one. And you're going, okay, what's left? You've got a few different places you can go really with a business. You can race to the bottom, and your value proposition is all around cheaper and faster. Or you can think more around a value proposition that's tries to get the balance between better, cheaper, faster. And we all feel quite constrained right now around what we can do with the business. But within all of that, it's an opportunity as well. I think a lot of people are saying to me that AI and the rapid change in the environment is almost like an existential crisis for agencies. But it's also an opportunity. But with all these things, it's an opportunity, isn't it? It's a time where you can take a step back and really think about what, again, going back to my previous point around thinking about it from the client's perspective. What's the challenge that your client is trying to solve, and recognizing that isn't just a technological. You can't just put a bit of AI in and fix it all. You can't just do it for the lowest price. You've got to take that time to understand where their value is, what they are looking for. And yes, unfortunately, they are looking for more for less, but they're also looking for trusted partners where there's an efficient relationship where you can, as an agency to a client, you can actually deliver an amazing job that the client just couldn't do themselves, because they're also resource constrained. They can't add headcount right now. They're looking to manage their cost. And if you're thinking in that world of trying to help your clients be smarter, trying to think about them as individuals, what they are trying to achieve, which is progression and a bonus, and how you can actually support them to do that. I think that's where the value proposition now has to be for agencies. And there's a lot of things that can't be replaced. The agencies are incredible, creative, strategic thinkers.
So let's just talk about this kind of economic uncertainty that that we're talking about. And it's very interesting that you said you've never seen anything like this before. I certainly haven't either. What kind of strategic approaches would you recommend to help agencies kind of perhaps diversify their revenue streams or kind of reposition themselves into new markets?
Yeah. So what are the options that an agency has? So you can go downstream and you can go more into production and making stuff for your clients. You can go upstream and be more of a consultancy, strategic thinker, advisor. And really I think the downstream bit is far too commoditized. As you can produce, there's no value in that production, unfortunately. Where there is value is in the thinking for your clients, being that true partner, being that advisor. But the problem is you're kind of held back by the term agency within all of that. And equally, you're sort of held back with the term consultancy. And I sort of hate calling my business consultancy. So then that has a whole load of negative connotations. So where I think the magic can be for agencies is that strategic thinking with the clarity of the creative brain and the output from that. So you can actually think deeply about your client's challenges, but communicate it in a much more effective way than a consultancy can do. The real opportunity is that problem solving with a different type of mindset to other providers in the space.
Great answer, Dan. So, as more agencies across the UK kind of shift to hybrid and remote models, we've all done it. We are all doing it. How can leadership teams, obviously this is one perhaps for me as well here, what can leadership teams or how can leadership teams maintain that kind of high performance accountability and of course culture, which we all talk about?
I think both that there's value in flexibility. There's value in being able to work from home when you want to. But when you're building a business, the only way, I think, to truly do that is by getting people together. I work with businesses which are very much an in-person model, and that's great. It has its challenges because you're sort of restricted to who you can hire within the company because you need to do it within a specific geographical area. And I work with businesses that are pretty much remote first, and that's the way they've been for forever. And they've got challenges around culture, and they still need to bring people together. And whilst you think a remote first model might be cheaper, it's actually quite expensive to deliver because whilst you don't have the cost of an office, you do need to be spending much more money getting people to travel and be together.
And manage people more time for
And manage people, and it is less efficient to be managing on Teams and managing on Google and etc. So how do you do it? I think it's got to be a hybrid approach. You've got to invest the time and money in building a culture of a business. Poorly defined word that maybe we'll talk about later on, but the people do business with people. People learn from people. I wouldn't be here in my career if I had been at the start working in a remote model. So I got introduced really to the world of consultancy I was at PwC doing work, and I got pulled in by a partner to go with her to go and have a chat with the client around some of the challenges that they were having. And yes, I was there as a bag carrier, but it really opened my mind to this whole world of advisory and partnering with clients to solve challenges. And that would never have happened if I had to deliver my work on Teams or whatever it was.
It is those kind of, I mean, I know everyone says this all the time, but it is those water cooler moments. It's that
100.
I make a cup of tea in the kitchen, you're chatting to someone else, if you're in a big agency, someone you might not have talked to before. Like with your moment, said I opened my eyes up to a world of consultancy. It's those kind of it's those kind of conversations, kind of off the cuff conversations you just do not have remotely.
No, it's impossible because you can't be spontaneous.
And we finish.
Yeah. Yeah, you set up a meeting for 15 or 30 minutes to talk about a subject. Where's the spontaneity? Where's that kind of that opportunity to learn new things? And so I think it is for everybody's benefit to be together as humans. We're social creatures. We're designed to be in social environments, and we lose a lot of that by just working from home behind a computer screen and a camera.
How do you think agencies can build more resilient leadership pipelines and attract that top talent with, you know, with sort of being, agencies being battered from all sorts of different levels of, government and putting their, wanting more money out of businesses and, talent wanting more money, the price of everything going up, inflation going up. There are a lot of kind of pressures all around.
But the only way around it right now with all these challenges is to share more openly what's going on. It can't just the challenges of the current situation can't just be held by leadership. It's got to be shared across the business, and people have to understand it. And I do truly believe if you can educate your team, if you can give them that understanding of what's going on within the business, the financial acumen, the cost of running a business, the understanding that as most agencies, they sell time, and therefore people need to value their time. It's got to be a joint effort. And I would hope that we can all recognize that we've got equal access to resources, but it's what you do with those resources allow some businesses to really succeed and some businesses to not quite get there. And the businesses that I see succeed the most are the ones where they do bring the team on that journey. They do help the team understand the challenges, and that it becomes an effort together to be able to solve them. And teams equally need to understand that there's no magic money tree. You can't just, if you want more money, then you've got to earn more money, and there's got to be that connection.
That's a great answer. Really great answer. So let's talk about AI. Let's get the A and the I into a question. We all have to talk about the AI, don't we, these days? Everyone talks about AI. How do you think agencies can redefine their service propositions and adapt business models to kind of stay relevant and profitable? And I would just add something on to this. If you were starting, knowing your breadth of knowledge across a multiple range of different kind of agencies, working, PR and marketing and video and etc. If you were starting an agency today, what would you do? So let's take the first part of that question first, Dan, because it's two parts, right? So each agency workflows. How do you think agencies can redefine their service propositions to really adapt their business and stay relevant? And also, of course, like all of us, we want to stay profitable.
Yeah. So this is obviously all moving incredibly quickly, and every day new models come out and it shifts. But broadly, where I think we are is, if you think that you can use AI within your business to improve your profitability, then you're wrong. You need to be using AI within the business now to maintain your profitability, because clients are already building the efficiencies that you can make using AI into their models, and expecting agencies to be able to do more with less. So that's my starting point. Second, how can businesses use this? You got to understand AI as it stands is not some panacea that can fix all your problems within the company. But I'm quite a big believer, or I am a big believer, in the 20-60-20 approach to using AI. So if you think about it, there are things that, as human brains and our connections and our ability to understand holistically a challenge that our client has, and build an approach to that challenge and ask the right questions, that really only a human brain can do right now. So that's the 20% up front, that you're really understanding what the problem is, and be able to ask the right questions and build the workflow to be able to deliver against that problem. Then a lot of that executional bit can probably be done, if you're asking the right questions and writing the prompts correctly, by AI. And a lot of the legwork can be done by AI now. And I use it a lot in my business to improve the efficiency and the quality of the output. But I also recognize that whilst it helps, it's not the solution to a lot of things that I'm doing, which is where the final 20% comes in. And it's taking the outputs from whichever AI model you're using, and again, applying the human lens to it all, with the depth of knowledge and understanding and strategic thinking that only a human can do, to make sure that it applies specifically to the situation.
Yeah.
And that has to be the way we approach all the workflows. What we're going to find is, where there's workflows that are very linear and easy to and repeatable, those are the things that are going to be taken over by AI first of all. But the 20 and 20, as 20 at the beginning and the 20 at the end, that's still very much a human brain can do that.
I think there is something in that. But I think, like all of us, when AI came out, we all got very nervous about it and very excited about it. And we are all using it. I say all, a lot of people are using it in their businesses. But I think we also need to take that kind of human approach and say, actually, I need to sit down and think about this myself. Going back to what you were saying about the 20%, in that, an AI can't sit with a client and ask the kind of questions, because it just doesn't know. So, well, that'll change over the next, 5 years. Who knows, Dan? But right,
5 months, maybe.
that is the case, and assumes I think we do need to be thinking a little bit more about, actually, this is quite an important thing to keep alive and not let someone else do all the thinking for you.
Yeah. But also, I think it's hugely exciting. Whilst of course, it's scary, and it's an existential, or feels at least like an existential crisis, and we don't know where it's all going. it is a huge potential and an amazing opportunity. And one of the biggest challenges we have in the UK and as a society is we've not been able to improve the productivity of the economy. And AI is an amazing opportunity as a tool to improve productivity. And that's, I think at the moment, at least, that's the way we need to see it as a tool. And yes, it's all a bit chaotic right now. It will settle. Already some of my clients who've lost work because brands thought they could all be done by AI, brands are coming back to the client now because, or the agency I work with now, because they're realizing that it's not this panacea. It can't do everything that a human can do. And so I think some of it will come back. It will settle. The people that are going to succeed are the ones that use it as a tool, that really think, build it into their workflows, use it as an opportunity to be more productive as a business, but recognizing the importance and the value of a human brain still.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about ask you a question around purpose driven, because obviously that's what your expertise is. So as clients kind of increasingly demand that kind of purpose driven work aligned with ESG goals, how can agencies, in your mind, embed purpose at the heart of their strategy while still trying to drive in this world we live in, that commercial growth aspect?
Yeah. Well, um, I think the whole concept around purpose is being challenged right now. Um, and people are definitely, whereas over the last couple of years, it was quite a primary objective to become more purpose driven. As a business, we were doing a lot of work supporting companies to become B Corp certified. And I think B Corp is an amazing framework to guide you as how to run a purpose driven business. That is all becoming much more challenged right now because of the difficulties around the commercials. And it can't be one or the other. There's no point being a purpose bankrupt business. Your power comes from being a really commercially sound, profitable company that is thinking more about its more of the stakeholder governance model. And that's where, for me, where we talk about the various different definitions around purpose, and is it because you've got a vision or you're trying to do something that's bigger than yourself? I think for me, it's about recognizing that you have multiple stakeholders and you need to find the balance between them, and look after your team, your clients, society, and make a meaningful impact, and use your business as a force for good, as B Corp would say. So where I think the opportunity is it helps you define how you want to operate as a company, and it's the opportunity for you to really use your skills and build a business that you and your team are proud of, and aligns you all to something that's bigger than just the day job. That's what we very much look for as a society and as a people.
So what advice would you have for agency owners and teams in transitioning from time-based billing? I would say 99% of agencies are time-based billing, to what is being considered that kind of more sustainable value-based pricing strategies. It's something that we have looked at in our business, and always struggled with. And I think uh, in some respects, the struggle probably comes because agencies, history has said that agencies bill time. Very few agencies bill on value.
Yeah.
Or there is a lot of speak of more and more of that happening.
When you talk about time-based pricing or value-based pricing, it's not a one size fits all. It's not one or the other. I'd say there's a spectrum there, and there's a lot of different ways of looking at it. But I also challenge the concept that time-based pricing can't be profitable, because if you look at, as we were talking before about other consultancy firms, accountancies, they're able, or law firms, they're a time-based model predominantly, where the partners in those businesses are taking home hundreds of thousands, millions a year. So, and you have highly paid individuals within those businesses. I think the problem that agencies have isn't really the pricing model, it's the way they're seen as, they're not seen as a professional service. And then that kind of gets to the core of the relationship between an agency and its clients, that there is a almost subservient nature to the way an agency operates. And then and as with all of these things, it's about behaviors and mindsets and tracking that bit first, and then going, okay, so if we can get out of the mindset that we are subservient to our clients and we're actually partnering and thinking for the client and being more strategic, then you can start thinking about a model where you're sharing in the value of what you're creating. And so you've got to recognize, as I said, it's not a one size fits all approach. There will be the majority of the time you're working with a client is going to be on a time and materials basis, or it's going to be on a project basis, and hopefully on more of a project fee than a pure time-based fee. But there will be those opportunities every once in a while where you can actually truly partner with your clients and find that place where you can share the risk. And that is the key thing. You've got to share the risk.
Of course.
Like then if you want to share on the upside, you've also got to share on the downside, and you've got to be prepared to do that. Then it all comes, the other side to it all is, what is it that, what about what you do can be protected? Where's the IP? Where's the real knowledge and the value in what you're delivering? And who owns that IP? And all of those kind of conversations come into it then. What I've been working on a lot with one of my clients is more of a licensing model. So rather than thinking that you build stuff for your clients, you build it at your risk, and you then license the output to your clients for a fixed period of time, or fixed time, or within certain territories, and you can increase your fees based on that type of concept. So more of a licensing type model, and that's one of the examples of a value-based pricing. But again, if you're going to license something, then you've got to own it, and if you're going to own it, then you're the ones that are going to have to build it and pay for the building.
Yeah.
So that puts you back into the risk scenario, and if you're prepared to do that.
It's definitely a complicated one for agencies to navigate, isn't it? It just is, isn't it? It's just like you said, it's looking for those opportunities where you can offer something a little bit different aside from perhaps that time-based pricing. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then unfortunately, and this is why it's still a topic of discussion for many, many years. There's no one size fits all. There's no magic thing that can happen. It's got to start with the language that you use. And you talk about the price of what you deliver and the value of what you deliver, and not just the cost. It comes from the relationship that you have with your clients, and what you're building as a business, and how you can build things that are replicable, that can be licensed, that are not just piece of work that gets used once and thrown away.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let's just move on to the next one, Dan. So how can agency owners and CFOs use financial modeling and scenario planning to stay resilient in uncertain UK economy, world economy now really, and prepare for potential market shifts?
Um, yeah, great question. So my advice is model out the different scenarios. Remember that a budget or forecast is more about your financial aspirations than actually predicting the future, because that's quite difficult. You've got to be very lean and flexible in terms of executing your strategy, and look for those different opportunities to earn money, to smarter ways to manage your cost base, improve workflows, efficiency, and all those things. But there is no, a couple of years ago, you could very easily build a financial model that was 10, 15, 20% growth. You kind of know how your resources are going to grow with that. I work with some businesses where it's much easier, where the revenue of the business is literally a multiple of headcount. And that makes it kind of easy. But I would say for sorry, a lot of businesses, that's not possible.
So the final question, Dan, okay?
Last one already.
Ready? I sort of alluded to this a little bit earlier, so it's a pretty big one. So what is your number one piece of advice for building a better agency for the future, especially in the world of AI that we live in right now and will continue to?
Number one bit of advice is having a team of people around you that are, one, on the journey, that understand the challenges that you're facing, that are entrepreneurial in their mindsets and can adapt to the challenges that we're facing right now, and that are rewarded for the success of the business. People have got to be hungry. I think if you're too comfortable with a salary, then you're probably not in the world that we can operate right now. So there has to be risk at all levels in the business. If the business is taking all the risk right now, then it's not going to be as succeed as a company. That risk has to be shared among all the people that are involved in the company. And that's probably that's the only way I see businesses being able to thrive at the moment.
That's a very, very interesting piece of advice. I agree with that piece of advice as well, actually. I think you do need to spread the risk across, and that's a tricky one to employ when you've been, when you're running a team in a very different way. You're almost like you're running a team in the past, aren't you? And kind of looking to build the team for the future. Well, Dan, thank you so much. I mean, that was incredibly insightful. I'm really glad you said yes to coming on the class.
It feels maybe a little bit negative, and I'm sorry if it maybe came across like that. I think this is a hugely exciting time to. There's always challenges. When you think about where we've come from, the changes over the last 20 years, how the agency world has changed so much since I started working with agencies back in the early 2000s. Huge amounts of change from the digital disruption. But each time agencies find an opportunity and succeed, and that's because they are agency leaders are incredible, creative, agile thinkers. And whilst, yes, the challenges feel greater than ever, there's always the opportunity for success within all of that. And what you have to do is you've got to double down, work as a team, share the risk. And I think we will come out to the other side of this disruption stronger than ever. Different, for sure, but there is a place for an agency in the world of the future.
I don't think it was negative at all. I think it's, look, the advice you're giving is of the time now, right? And like you said, is that since the pandemic, the past 5 years has been an absolute massive roller coaster, and it will continue to do that for a little bit longer. And like you said, there's massive opportunity out there. Things will settle down eventually. No one knows how long it'll be till that happens, but there is great opportunity out there with new technology and thinking about how to run an agency differently for the future. If you enjoyed this show, like, subscribe and follow us. All reviews are welcome. We have lots more fantastic guests in future episodes of Connected Minds. Now at NRG Studios, we specialise in supporting businesses by crafting buyer journeys that captivate, engage and convert prospects to loyal customers. Our team of creative experts blends dynamic moving images with strategic digital ecosystems that connect buyers emotionally to your brand. So let's partner and build a visual experience that drives real results, and reach out today and let's bring your brand story to life. Thanks for listening. Until next time.